still can't get them back. If I vision brothers, death, I still can't get killing innocent. God ain't the answer, son. We better than that. Make it just as bad as them. They just making us strong. We fight side by side. Can't take it no longer. Revolution will be Wi-Fi.
I can hear my neighbor crying. I can't breathe. Now I'm in the struggle and I can't leave. Calling out the violence of the racist police. We ain't gonna stop till people are free.
Yeah, half heart, half money. Mitchie Slick said, half smarts, half cunning. You're not talking organization building, I'm not coming. I'm not a politician, don't need an office and I'm not running. They got it rigged, they try to make your dreams impossible. From the schools to the court system to the jails to the hospitals. The domino effects on the peak that a long time ago. So native with the flow that they calling me Mike Geronimo. They like to argue with the facts and the data. All lives will never matter till Black Lives Matter. The Black United leaders live it directly on groovy sounds. The word is the flesh and nothing moving unless it's on the ground. American dream or American lie. You ever try to carve a piece of that American pie? Your chance of dying from an American cop 8 times more likely than a terrorist plot. I'm like, wow, who the terrorist now? No, it ain't hard to see. I just observe my surroundings. No, this ain't prophecy, it's just mental photography. This is my odyssey, an epic poem. I'm shouting from the tops of the mountains where there's a lot to see, but it's hard to breathe.
I can hear my neighbor crying. I can't breathe. Now I'm in the struggle and I can't leave. Calling out the violence of the racist police. We ain't gonna stop till people are free.
Babylon, now where you stop me for? From you treat me as inferior is all over. No remorse as to who we are. So ain't but day when we blow your praise on the jar. Blue coat and badges, terrorizing our city, and I want us to give them pity. You mad? But in the streets, them a gun we down with we hands up or we hands down. They give you justice and will give you peace for all them fallen soldiers, no disease. All on the fury of a black nation, we decide to release them in a beast. Cause we are go gun them down. From them get out, tell them we are go gun them down. Cause them not no friend of mine, we are go gun them down. Babylon run out, tell them we are go gun them down. Black nation,
hey, yo, Black Lives Matter not, so review your data. Dirt slots more abundant till the earth is shattered. Every 28 hours, hot slugs, pain flesh. Terrorism abundant, crackheads for death. Bucket list for devils, extinction fest. Population control is on the president's desk. I got a camera and a hammer, ballistic vest. World star homicide is like a new day fresh. From the corners of the shy, Ferguson to the levees. Neglect on my people is heavy. The death code got me cocked and ready. Worldwide RBGs represent, we steady. It's mad bloody. Sunday, Monday, every day is some new-ish. Multicolored devils, pedophiles unconscious. Obnoxious climate, I can't breathe. The red on the flag is not a blood on the sleeve. Fight back.
Calling out the violence of the racist police. We ain't gonna stop till people are free.
Crip up, let's go. People get free, Harriet T, Nat T, Booker T, look at me. I'm fearless, known for bravery. It's clear, they wanna take us all back to slavery. But chains ain't made for me, it's insane to me. The police and the Klan are the same to me. It's plain to see, it's war. I'm busting off crazily, leave a racist on the floor. The black or more, the maroon, the blue black, the indigo, Asiatic black. If you that, it's no time to do crack. No time to act like you lack the tact to attack. Fight back, it's time to react. Put an end to the insanity. Real black men, protect your real black family. Never lazy, God gave us the right to take the life of those trying to take away our babies. This is crazy frontin'. When the police are killing black kids and a black president ain't saying nothing. They hunting us down like wild game. So it's karma, I suggest we do the same.
I can hear my neighbor crying. I can't breathe.
Talib, Sticky Fingers, Mad Lion, Samuel Jackson, KRS-One. We coming through, yo!
Of the racist police. We ain't gonna stop till people are free.
Remember, revolution only works for those that participate. Don't stand on the sidelines. Pick up a bottle.
Just gotta get some things off my chest. Tough times, I hope y'all holding up. We gon' be alright, cause we always is. But I'm feeling like this.
How many mothers have to cry? How many brothers gotta die? How many more times? How many more times? How many more marches? How many more signs? How many more lives? How many more times? Take a look around, can you see it now? Don't be colorblind, cause when they're killing mine, they'll try to justify it. Oh, each and every time. Playing in the park, taking you a jog, sitting on the couch, in your own house. Never seem to matter what we do. You think we don't matter, but we do. You got a problem cause the city on fire, but you quiet when niggas die. Let the soul up out that body that we buried. You with God now, you no longer have to worry. It's so hard to sing these words out loud. All these beautiful, precious black lives, lost in the name of senseless white pride. Tears falling from our eyes. How many mothers have to cry? How many brothers gotta die? How many more times? How many more times? How many more marches? How many more signs? How many more lives? How many more times? Tell me, how can you be quiet? You know the language of the unheard is a riot. All we ever see from you is violence. You know you ain't no better if you silent. You talking about the city on fire, where your rage when my people die. We ain't slaves, let my people fly. Now it's time, watch my people rise. How many mothers have to cry? How many brothers gotta die? How many more times? How many more times? How many more marches? How many more signs? How many more lives? How many more times? How many mothers have to cry? Tell me. How many brothers gotta die? Tell me. How many more times? Oh Lord. How many more times? How many more marches all across the world? How many more signs? Oh, how many more lives? Shame I gotta ask. How many more times? I'll leave you with that.
At the same time, all the corruption and justice, the same crimes. Always a problem if we do or don't fight and we die, we don't have the same right. What is a gun to a man that surrenders? What's it gonna take for someone to defend her? If we all agree that we're equal as people, then why can't we see what is evil? I can't breathe. You're taking my life from me. I can't breathe. Will anyone fight for me? Ooh, ooh, ooh.
the time. Destruction of minds, bodies, and human rights. Stripped of bloodlines, whipped and confined. This is the American pride. It's justifying a genocide, romanticizing the theft and bloodshed that made America the land of the free. To take a black life, land of the free, to bring a gun to a peaceful fight for civil rights. You are desensitized to pulling triggers on innocent lives because that's how we got here in the first place. These wounds sink deeper than the bullet your entitled hands could ever reach. Generations and generations of pain, fear, and anxiety. Equality is walking without intuition, saying the protector and the killer is wearing the same uniform. The revolution is not televised. Media perception is forced down the throats of closed minds, so it's lies in the headlines and generations of supremacy resulting in your ignorant, privileged eyes. We breathe the same and we bleed the same, but still we don't see the same. Be thankful we are God-fearing because we do not seek revenge, we seek justice. We are past fear, we are fed up eating your shit because you think your so-called black friend validates your wokeness and erases your racism. That kind of uncomfortable conversation is too hard for your trust fund pockets to swallow. To swallow the strange fruit hanging from my family tree because of your audacity to say all men are created equal in the eyes of God, but disparage a man based on the color of his skin. Do not say you do not see color. When you see us, we can't breathe.
Southern leaves, southern trees we hung from. Barren souls, heroic songs unsung. Forgive them, Father, they know this knot is undone. Tied with the rope that my grandmother died. Pride of the pilgrims, affect lives of millions. In slave days, separating fathers from children. Institution ain't just a building, but a method of having black and brown bodies fill them. We ain't seen as human beings with feelings. Will the U.S. ever be us, Lord willing? For now we know the new Jim Crow. The stop, search, and arrest stop souls. Police and policies patrol philosophies of control. A crew hand taking hold. We let go to free them so we can free us. America's moment to come to Jesus. The caged bird sings for freedom to ring. Black bodies being lost in the American dream. Blood a black bean, a pastoral scene. Slavery still alive, check Amendment 13. Not whips and chains are subliminal. Instead of nigga, they use the word criminal. Sweet land of liberty, incarcerated country. Shot me with your ray gun and now you wanna trump me. Prison is a business, America's the company. Investing in injustice, fear, and long suffering. We staring in the face of hate again. The same hate they say will make America great again. No consolation prize for the dehumanized. For America to rise, it's a matter of black lives. And we gon' free them so we can free us. America's moment to come to Jesus.
What's going on, good folk? Hope everybody had a good day. Hope everybody is doing well. It's good to see you all. Sure, you got me wanting to jump on the grill. I got to wait till Saturday. Good to see y'all. All right, everybody that's on social media, I want y'all to go ahead and share this post. Go ahead and share this post so we can get this discussion going. I'm looking forward to it because I don't know what I'm gonna say, and so I'm looking forward to it so I can hear the opinions and then respond to what I hear. Get taught something today. Something still in jail. And so good to see everybody. Good to see you. Good to see everybody on social media. Come on, share the post, get it out there. Tag your friends. Let's get involved in a good conversation today. All of you that already saw the flyers, you saw that the topic is kings and queens, or kings versus queens. And the brother that threw it out there, he got scared and I don't know if these sisters put some fear in his heart or what, but he got scared and didn't show up tonight. And so they get to take his topic and do whatever they want with it. And but we are very, very excited to be here and want everybody to share this post, share it with your friends, participate in the comments. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the comments say. And that's gonna be my main focus, is reading the comments today, because I'm here to learn tonight. And so that's what we have. And so we started in August of 2020. And what happened is I was seeing a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good work, and we didn't necessarily sound the same. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if people that really care about the progress of our communities, that when we think a little bit differently and see things a little bit differently, if we're actually able to work together. Now, there's some of us now I ain't interested in dealing with, and I'm not even gonna legitimize them by calling their names, but it's other people that do good work, but we just do it a little bit differently. And I was just wondering. And so I invited a good number of people that did good work, had strong opinions, but just saw things a little bit differently, and see how we can. So, and we are on episode 11. Episode 11 tonight. And so we're almost at a year after June. That'll be 12. And so we'll be, when we hit July, we'll be at a whole year. And so what I'm gonna do is, and they want you to tag us. Oh, tag us, sister. What did it mean? I'm still tag us, sister.
And I mean, tag me, I'm the sister.
So you saying on the post, put your name on it?
Yeah, just tag me. I can't share. I can't do anything.
Oh, you can't do that.
I'm in jail.
And so y'all put Shanae. Shanae is in Facebook jail. I don't know if it's a felony or a misdemeanor, but she's in Facebook jail and she can't do nothing. So y'all tag her, sister, please. And so we're gonna have real quick introductions. And then W.E. Sparrow is going to introduce the topic for discussion. And so again, I'm Ron Ross, pastor of Greater Bethel AME Church in Gainesville, Florida.
Well, Tori's here tonight. I thought Tori was the one to introduce this, so I was kind of feeling his head, but.
Okay, it was you, Tori. I thought it was Anthony. It was you. No, it was Anthony.
It was Anthony. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. All right. No, I'm sorry. Okay, that's fine. Earl Sparrow, community advocate, a voice of for the a lover of justice. If I can put it on my grave, a lover of justice. That justice reign, like and doing what I can down in Southwest Florida.
Hi, everyone. I am Shira, a lover of Black people, a lover of the work around liberation, and someone who is dedicated to being better and learning. I am currently in Mississippi, but I'm in New Orleans in Mississippi.
You got the birds chirping all around you?
It's heaven.
I'm Jamie Perkins. That's it. Just Jamie.
I'm Tori Azariah Yasharal. I'm a Hebrew Israelite on the panel, and of course, we love all of our people. We just want them to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High.
And the mayor of Gainesville.
The mayor?
Yeah, unofficial.
Right.
She talking to the kids.
Yeah, talking to the kids. Kid peek around the corner. Like, get out of my life.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Shanae Jackson, and y'all know me. I believe in Black harmony and Black joy, and I believe in crashing up anybody's spot who doesn't agree.
All right, so y'all know who we are. Make sure you share this post. Let's get involved. Let's get engulfed in this conversation. But Willie Earl Sparrow, can you tell us what the topic is and exactly what it means?
Our topic tonight is it kings and queens, or kings versus queens? And it dealt with, to me, when I saw the flyer, it showed a king, it showed a lion, then it showed a lioness was coming out of the woman on the other side, and they can work together, or they can work apart. One of the things that Dr. King says, we are going to have to learn how to live together as brothers or perish as fools. And one of those things that hopefully we can talk about tonight is while God made us a little bit different, those differences were made to complement each other, not to give one an advantage over the other. Hopefully some of the things I think that we're going to talk about tonight and hear for these wonderful sisters and brothers is dealing with how we can find our lane, even if that goes against traditional settings, finding out what works so we can move forward. I'll give you an example. For me, I can grill, like Shira's on there grilling right now. That's my thing. I can grill. I can do my thing there. You don't want W. Earl Sparrow Jr. cooking 7 meals a week. That ain't my ministry. I probably could do all right, but we'll be eating pizza 4 or 5 of them nights, and we'll have some cereal the other 2 nights, and I might make some fried chicken to try not to kill somebody. That's not me. That's not what I do. But I could bring home some bacon. I can cook some mean breakfast. I can find my lane, and I can get in, and I can fit in. And one of the things that my wife and I worked out is that on Thursdays is my night to cook. She works just like I do. She works and then she comes home and cooks every night. That's not right, especially when I get home earlier than her sometimes. So I can do a little bit and get in where you fit in. And one of the things that, because I stretch myself to make her at ease, you know what that makes her feel? You know, he respects the hustle. He knows what it takes to do. And they're not my kids, her kids are exclusively to feed and family. It's our family that needs to be fed. So those are the things that hopefully we could talk about. I'll give you one more example. I ain't gonna talk too much about my house, but I'm not good with numbers. I can play the piano. I can give a speech. I can do all of that stuff. Balancing the checkbook and paying this bill and all that stuff, that ain't I never really had to do that. I was not good at that. My wife, however, she knows how to do that. She can put these numbers together. She can say, all right, you bought in this much, we spent that much, we got this much left. I'm like, okay, cool. Right on. That doesn't make me any less of a man. But it does mean that if I had to balance all this stuff, I'll be probably doing this live on my phone with a candle behind me because I would have forgot to pay the light bill. That's not my strength. That's not my area. But I can do what I can to help out. But because we work together, where I'm short, she's strong. Where she's short, I'm strong, and we work together, and we'll be in a better place. So hopefully we can talk about how to lay the pride aside, to actually ask for help, to say, you know what, I know this is traditionally a man does this, but you do it better than I do. So I'm not any lesser of a man because you're stronger in this area than I am. You're not lesser or of a woman because I'm stronger. One of my friends, he cooks every night. He's a chef. That's what he likes to do. So his wife don't cook at all. Does that make her less of a woman? No, it don't. But they have lanes and they fill, and the kids and the family are fed, and the kingdom continues to thrive and grow. So that's what I would like for us to talk about, how we can avoid conflict and work together in unity, because either way, our children are going to mimic our mistakes and our successes. So we want to give them something great to pattern their family on. So the floor is open. Any other thoughts of anything popped in anybody's mind when I shared that? Don't speak at the same time.
Well, one thing that popped in my mind is, you know, it seems as though when we begin talking about tradition and gender roles, one of the things that it seems to be embedded in most people's psyche is that housework is women's work. You know, and so your example is that I'll help her out around the house. You know, and some men won't do that. However, you know, I think that we should evolve past housework being women's work and I'll help her out, you know. I think it should be both of our work. It shouldn't be a.
I like that. I agree. The house, if I was single, I would have to clean up my house by myself. I ain't rolling like that to have a maid.
Let me jump in here and go ahead and throw myself all up and underneath the bus, because I am the epitome of an oxymoron when it comes to, I guess what we're talking about tonight is gender roles, loosely, because in some capacity, I agree with them. I agree with gender roles. There have been many of times that I have said, and if my best friend is watching, she can attest to this, that I've said, whoever was the woman that got out there and fought for women to be out here working and getting us out the kitchen, I would have slapped that heifer, because why am I out here working 8 hours a day and sometimes 10, sometimes 15 hours a day? And, you know, like, and then I got to come home and cook and clean and wash clothes and yell at Micah and did you do your schoolwork? And then I'm getting, you know, 4-5 hours of sleep at night, got to get up in the morning, do it all over again. So I'm a bit of an oxymoron when it comes to gender roles, because I would like to see, I mean, I don't mind being a kept woman. I would like, you know, for God to send me a man that would provide for me, bring home all the bacon. I will cook all the bacon as long as he bring it home. Like I would like that. I cannot lie. We are transitioning into a new space. You know, I see the world cultivating. I see cultures cultivating into this new, you know, realm where we're saying, you know, nothing is gender specific. You know, anybody can do anything. I'm not a woman that feels that I can do a lot of the things that men can do. I don't want to be out there. You know, I can do it now. Let me clarify. I can do anything, pretty much anything that a man can do. My dad taught me very well. I can cut some grass. You know, I will cut some grass. I have cut my lawn in the past. There are things that I guess would be considered a man's job that I have no problem getting out there and doing, that I will do. And I probably can do better than a man. But I can understand how, you know, I can understand the transition, and I'm fine with that too. I think that we should get away from saying, you know, this is not a gender specific role, and letting people who are in whatever space that they are in do what the heck they want to do. So if a family is fine with saying, you know, my man takes out the trash every Thursday, that's not my job because that's his job. or a man's job, if they want to specify a gender, then I think we should be fine with what they're doing and not try to put a barrier on what, like, you know, even I see posts on Facebook when people say something specific to a gender role, and I see people like being combative with them, like, why are you, you know, that he's a boy, he doesn't have to do that, or she's a girl and they can do what they, if that's what that family wants to do with their family, I think we should just let that family do what they want to do, and then let me handle my business over here. But I will, you know, want to just go on record and say that if there, you know, if there is a man that wants to provide and care for Jamie D. Perkins and pay all my bills and I don't have to work, and, you know, and God sent you to me, hallelujah, I will take you and thank you, God.
And that's the spirit.
Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bill? Can you pay my automobile?
All the things, please, Jesus. Or let me get a scratch off or something, but, you know, that's just my tidbit for now. I just, you know, that was just a thought that was in my mind. I'll come back with more, but that's just where I want to start.
Pastor Jackson.
During the time of the enslaved, when our people were enslaved, women did all the work that men did. Women were in the field just like men were in the field. I think, you know, white women historically were kept as it relates to, you know, and I'm still learning, so I'm not professing to be you know everything about this. But I think, you know, the issue around working became an issue of independence, an issue of having freedoms, because white women or women who had these types of men who had all the money would begin to, you know, control them or, you know, treat them as though they were property. And so that was, I believe, why, you know, women wanted to start work. One of the reasons why they wanted to start working. And like you said, some women like working. Some women have occupations that they feel passionate about, that they want to do. And in a time when they were unable to do that, you know, they fought to have those rights to be able to do that.
Well, I agree that most of our people that are in a situation where they have male and female in the household, there are equal things that we can do, right? As far as a generalization goes, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the generalization goes, yeah, a lot of women can do things that men can do. And there are things that men can't do that women do, like have babies. So everyone does have a role to play. There are certain things that women wouldn't be able to do given the situation. For instance, if there's a situation where someone breaks into your house, you don't want your woman going out to try to fight a burglar, right? The man is going to do that. So there are certain things that men do that women don't do, and things that women do that men don't do, right? But as far as the topic for tonight, kings and queens working together, or kings and queens working separately, I believe that we should work together. For one, I always say this, our enemies are always on top of us. No, if you go back to the movie where the ape said, you know, apes together strong, you know, he broke the stick and he put them together. He said the apes together strong. You can't do anything without the rest of our people. The young people look at each other in a different light because of the situations that they grew up in. And I understand that. But as you get older, you start to realize that what you learned at a young age really doesn't make that much sense to go against or be against the people that look just like you, you know. So the kings and queens should be working together. They should be working together. They should be trying to build something with other kings and queens. we have people that are actually benefiting off of our oppression, off of us being in the sandbox, and they're outside of the park looking at us fight each other in the sandbox, you know. But that's my 2 cents on that.
So I'm wondering if so I think one of the negatives that came from desegregation was a major push for assimilation, to begin for us to assimilate into someone else's world, as opposed to using that to actually build our communities. I think we left, our schools, our high schools turned into middle schools if they didn't get closed down altogether. Our stores, a couple decades later, were closed down, and we used other people's stores. People came into our communities after our stores closed down and began to put different types of stores in our communities and then leave our communities with the money they made off of us. And I'm wondering if assimilation is a part of the way we traditionally thought. Is it assimilation or is it evolving? Are we becoming better and evolving from what we understood as the family? Or is assimilation what we're doing to, because I read this study that said that Black women are compared more to men, to being a man, than a woman when compared to white women. And so when we just sometimes, like if we see sometimes how a police officer will handle a sister, and then you see how they handle white women, they deal with the sister more like you would deal with the man. Mm-hmm. And the study showed that Black women are more or less looked at as men, and at the same time, I think Black men have been demasculinated, or however you say that word. I mean, that our masculinity has been stripped in so many ways. And so I'm wondering that with some of the thought that we have that kind of lines up with, maybe kind of more, I won't call it feminist, but feminist leaning. I'm wondering if it's because an effort to assimilate combined with Black women being looked at I'm just wondering if it's assimilation or evolution. Are we getting smarter, or are we just trying to be like somebody else that's that don't come from the same stuff we come from, when we try to when we approach it so differently? Anybody got any feedback on that to give me some guidance?
It's a little bit of both. I think it's a mixture of both of those things. One, I think after segregation or integration, after integration, a lot of it we couldn't do on our own. So a lot of women went to work because of, we couldn't provide one income. Even now today, a lot of women are working because they can't provide. I mean, taking, and I guess you technically cannot take, the slave trade out of it, because that's how this all kind of began, but taking for a moment, if we could take that out of the context of it all, when you think about just surviving, you can't really survive off of one income. So it changes the perspective of a family, because two people have to work in order to be able to provide for your family. So you have that component in it where you're saying, okay, maybe we are assimilating, we're mimicking what we see or what other people are doing, but a part of it is just survival. Like, we got to be able to eat, we got to be able to pay our bills. So two people got to go out here and work and make money, because you're not going to have, your wife or your husband working 24 hours a day to provide for the family. So two people got to go out and eat. So I think it might be just a mesh of both of those things. Saying you're assimilating and just trying to. Shanae got her hand up. Okay, Pastor ready now, because she ain't said nothing yet, but ready to.
She ready.
Just survive. Go ahead, Pastor Jackson.
I was ready, but when somebody called my name, somebody else spoke. So I got a lot to say. So first I want to start with Wheeler Earl. One of the things that he pointed out was the imagery of the lion and the lioness. So I like to start there. I think a lot of this is about subliminal messaging and programming that we don't even realize. Often we utilize the lion to symbolize the alpha male, and that's the male that protects the pride. But a lot of people don't really know or have not actually studied how prides actually work. So while the alpha or the lion marks their territory, it is the female, it is the lioness who does the hunting. It is the lioness who does the protecting. In prides, it is they raise the children communally. In prides, they're successful because people actually come together. And so we utilize that imagery in order to help to perpetuate things like toxic masculinity or misunderstanding of how things are and could be. I am an alpha female by every definition of the word alpha female, but I believe in gender roles. I don't believe that gender roles are the same in every relationship. They're not even the same with me as a person. They have to be relationship specific in order for it to be power building in the relationship. And we have to understand that. Number two, we need to stop thinking that relationships need to be a particular way because of people highlight reels on Facebook or what stars and other people are doing, and get to a point where we're realizing that we're doing what works in our relationship. And what that means is in some relationships, the wife or the girlfriend's gonna be the breadwinner. In others, it might be the male that's the breadwinner. In some, the male might be the primary caregiver as it pertains to the children and vice versa. I think part of the problem is we're always so busy comparing ourselves to others that we're not willing to do whatever it is to take to work within our familial structure. And we're only weakening our structure for what fear of what people might say. Additionally, we got to look at the most basic principles that are our people need to be healed. They need to know what genuine love is, and they need to become equipped before we can do anything to understand why we should be working together, why we shouldn't be working together. When we start to understand that those basic things like healing, love, and being equipped with things are actually missing, then we understand why it's so easy for us to become in competition, for us to become combative. And to go back to the lion's pride, typically the way that prides dissolve is because people start to not get, the lions start to get in brawls about whatever it is that was hunted and gathered and bought back. So it's that same thing that we see. We get the crab in the barrel mentality. We see debates on Facebook about if somebody bought you a ring that looks like this, would you be with them? We see people that always gauge what makes a good husband or a good wife, and typically it's materialistic things. Not realizing that people can have all the money in the world and they can still mistreat you and devalue you. And what is the terminology like whatever this is, misogyny, misdemeanor, I can't pronounce it. And basically that is the special type of misogyny that is pushed upon Black women. And one of the things that bothers me about it is we romanticize how things were even before desegregation. And I don't know about y'all, but I talk to the people in my family and other people around. And you had even a lot of women that were breadwinners. Their husbands are out with other women. They developed this mindset of long as you got a piece of man, and as long as the man's in the household, but then that man was not actually a leader in the household. You got times where there was a man who was a provider in the household, but he talked down to the children. He talked down to the wife. So now you got all these emotionally unavailable people. I want us to get to a point when we start to figure out how to work together. We need to stop gauging and judging each other on what's on the surface and what's only surface deep, because we need to understand it's a great deal deeper than that. When we understand that it's a great deal deeper than that, then we'll start to want to heal, love, and equip each other instead of always looking down our noses at each other or always judging somebody else's situation. And that's how we get into those Facebook debates. When somebody decides to do something different, well, why are you making them do that, this, that, and the other? Because we're so busy judging. Just because somebody does something differently from you doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means that's the particular way that you do it. Me personally, I've been in relationships, and even like now, I am alpha female, but I believe in cooking when it's time to cook for my family, because to me, that's love. The one thing that's universal, I don't care what culture you're in, is food. When you break bread with people, that's why they have business meetings over lunch and over dinner, because that's the time that you can let down your guards, you can come together and be communal, and you can figure out how to develop partnerships. So, and that's a gender role. I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm independent, well, I'm not going to cook. That's mismessaging. that level of programming, and everything does not have to be an extreme. So just because you might not be a person that doesn't take out the trash doesn't mean you should be not willing to. Because whenever you're in any relationship, whether it is a romantic relationship, whether it's friendships, or whether it's business relationships, we have to realize that it's not 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 75, 25, 85, 15. The issue is we're all trying to figure out how to bring our best to the table in order to be a power for our people, in order to love, equip us, and heal us. And the reason for that is that's how we get Black capital. That's how we get Black infrastructure. When we start to have Black capital and Black infrastructure to do what it is that we need to do, then we start to see the harmony, we start to see the joy, and we stop having debates about who's value, who's not, and actually get to the meat of the things and start to do the work.
So before Shira go, let me read a couple things that's on Facebook. So Nicole Sparrow said, Brother Tory, women can protect their homes just as males. And then somebody named Brandy Dennis said the gender roles have been a form of control. Take the gender out and replace with teamwork. Household would be a better place. And Tori's response to Nicole was, Nicole Sparrow never said a woman couldn't, just that the man has a job like the woman has a job. Just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you for all the beautiful comments that you all have made so far. I would just like to say that labels like feminism is really just a term to help us have to understand the range of what a person's thought and their behavior possibly. And not that they can't go in, outside of that range, but that's typically what the labels do. And I feel that sometimes the word feminism or feminist thought turns people off, turns men off, and because it then becomes them saying that feminism is turning us against each other. To me, it makes me feel as though that discourages them from ever even exploring feminist thought. And you don't have to be a feminist to explore feminist thought. And I think to be a feminist, you don't also have to be combative or divisive between you and your between women and men, or females and males. I think in spirit we are the same, but we've incarnated in this material realm in these different bodies, and we have material conditions and material experiences. And it's important for us to not avoid looking into those experiences. One of the things that Minister Rawls said was how women are treated. Black women are treated by police. If we pay attention, like in New Orleans, the Black female incarceration rate grew by over 400%. But when we talk about incarceration, oftentimes we are talking about Black men being incarcerated. When we hear about a lot of injustices, it seems as though there are times when it is focused.
I think the answer, sir, we better than that. The niggas just as bad as us. They just making us strong. We fight side by side. Can't take you no more than revolution where we Wi-Fi.
I can hear my neighbors crying. I can't breathe. Now I'm in the struggle.
That's your playlist, ain't it?
So
there you go.
You're ready and close. There is a thing such as sexism and patriarchy and unconscious and conscious biases that manifest in different ways. And I just would hate for something that can bring us together, something that can educate us more, something like learning more about feminist thought or learning more about the feminine experience, the Black female experience, to cause us from being able to examine our unconscious biases, to cause us from being able to examine the actual progression of oppression that is specific to Black women.
I want to let me tag for it before you jump back in, Pastor. One of the things that one of the things that pops into my mind when we get into dealing with feminism, and the reason why men in particular hate feminism, and there is a difference between Black women and Black feminism and white feminism throughout history. But anything that supports and builds up my sister, builds up my wife, builds up my cousins, my mom, the elders, my aunts and grandma and everything else, why would a man be against that? Only a weak man wants to have a weak woman. Only a weak man wants to have a woman not believe in herself and have options and go and better herself and everything else. Only a weak man wants to keep a woman in a little box or in a little hole, pigeonhole to do these little roles, and that's it. Most of the times we see that conversation about men, they work, they provide, they pay all the bills and all this other kind of stuff like that. And but again, somebody alluded to this earlier. That's the reason. There's a reason why that used to be this case, because nobody would hire a woman. A woman couldn't own property. They couldn't own a business. Couldn't do any of that stuff like that. So if a man didn't work, they didn't really have anything, or they can kind of get whatever their dad gave them. So there's some reasons traditionally because of the limited opportunities that were available for women to make, and women still work and make less money than men doing the same job. They make less money than white women doing the same job. They're white co-workers. There are so many systemic things that hurt and hold Black women back, besides what you just said about the arrest rate, and they serve longer sentences for the same crimes. So if we're talking about, and the last thing they need with our sisters, with all the hell they go through with systemic racism, systemic patriarchy, is to have Black men like ourselves, or Black men, doing our damnedest to keep them down too, instead of help them out. So it is a lot of work to do. And then the last thing Sinead said about lions and lionesses, yes, the lionesses do the labor, but you watch the National Geographic, or what's the name of those little shows and stuff like that, when it talks about lions and following the pride, what happened to the men? Male lion, he comes and then he dips. He don't stay around protecting the cubs and all that kind of stuff like that. During the season, if the woman don't do it, it don't get done. The more whatever, they'll come around when it's mating season again and try to have some more cubs or something like that, or they'll go try to find some others. So that symbolism of using the lion, acting like the lion is always there, the lion's the protector, the lion raises the strong cubs and all that. Man, please. That is not the case.
So that's what I want to go to my point. So number one, you made a point that there's weak men. Well, let me start with feminism. So Black feminism and white feminism are two entirely different things. And speaking from a person who would be offended, I used to be offended if somebody would call me a feminist. And that's because of needing to understand and study feminist thought in order to understand it. And I'm gonna be clear, because I know I speak plain. It is my viewpoint that white feminism is what many people say it is. It's to divide the family in a particular household. It is my opinion from every Black feminist that I've ever studied, every Black feminist that I've ever worked with, we deem it our responsibility to build our families, but build them with strong, solid foundation. And I say that to say, I go back to heal, love, and equip, because it's the same with the symbolism with the cub. What have you always heard when men do certain things? Number one, boys will be boys. Number two, when children are playing, which dramatic play, all studies show that we don't allow little boys to play with baby dolls, because that's going to make them a girl. It's going to make them gay, which is a bunch of malarkey, when literally for children, it is dramatic play. They're just learning and understanding how to care for a child. Innately, they do things like play house. Innately, we do those. So we tell boys they can only go do sports and don't do housework and don't do these things. So we teach boys to have different women. We teach boys not to sit still and learn and not to be emotional. And then as they become men, we blame them for being weak men. And so we have to understand that it's our responsibility to teach men to communicate. It's our responsibility to help men understand and know how to have empathy and compassion. And then being able to start from there, we can proceed forward. There were cultural things, even like I want people to understand history. women are written out of history. We hear about the Dred Scott decision. We heard about Frederick Douglass, but nobody ever talks about that. Even with Dred Scott, it was his wife who went up there first, and then she was turned away. So she's the person that did all of the legwork and had Dred go up there and actually file suit. We don't talk about even with Frederick Douglass. He was a slave, but his girlfriend was a free woman who was an activist that actually helped him to be free and actually push his initiative forward. I always pose a question, and when I tell you each time I've ever posed it, it gets a knee-jerk reaction and men get butt hurt. I always ask, in what movement do we see throughout history where Black men supported Black women? And men are always telling me about a time they supported a friend. They'll always tell me about a time they supported a sister. And my question to them is, what movement? I can name Black Lives Matter. There are movements that we started to support our Black men. We can talk about the support and who we were as it pertains to the Black Panther Party, like literally throughout even the Civil Rights Movement. But there are times, and even too, I wish I could think of the pastor's name. There was a pastor who committed incest, who was sleeping with his children, that was known to be the epitome of the Civil Rights Movement, although he
C.L.
was
Franklin.
That's his name. And so even thinking about those particular things, and so what happens is we get into these philosophical debates, but we're never talking about the root. And then we wonder, why is it can't we come together? Why are we in competition? Why do women feel like it's so scary to say, well, I'm not going to bow down. I'm just going to be independent, not realizing I believe in every relationship, it should be two whole people coming together to complement each other, not supplement each other. And then you have, and we do. So there may be some weak men, but I want us to understand how that originated. And some of it originated from the way they saw their grandparents do things, and then proceeded their parents do things. And we got to understand some of the toxicity in our community in order to overcome the hindrances that stop us from loving on one another and understanding one another.
Nate, on a comment, Byron Cohen wanted to know, since it appears that we are putting some of the onus on men for allowing some of these things to happen, what about the CEOs that are women that are also propagate or allow this to happen?
The CEOs, the Black, I don't understand the CEOs that are women.
I guess he's saying women in leadership that also push the same type of behavior. I guess the question is, what about CEOs that are women that allow this?
So that goes back to what I was stating. It can be 95% of CEOs that are women that don't, and we'll talk about that minute. It's almost like the welfare queen ideology. So, and mind you, so I wanted people to know before I became self-employed, I'm a woman that was in corporate America, but I'm always that person that does not subscribe to a number of different things. I'm gonna go back to Gainesville. Gainesville, our equal opportunity director just resigned from her job. And people are, oh, they just gave her a $36,000 raise and she's a Black woman. And mind you, this is the equal opportunity director. And even with her job is to maintain and get equity for Black people, for women, for other minorities. Do you know that even when they did the scale to increase everybody's pay, they did everybody's but hers? She spent a year and a half in the role that's her specific role and trying to change those things, trying to change that. And they weren't interested until she was ready to actually resign. And so we look at women that are in positions of power, and that's what I always talk about, that are perceived positions of power. I tell people I came with I take on the angry Black woman mindset, because especially as a Black woman in power, you can't be as bold as that white man that's in a position of power in order to enact change. You can't be that person that's in a position of power that's trying to change those particular things, because what it is a knee-jerk reaction, and then in response, white people get together and make sure they get you out of there. And so we have to be mindful of that. We're not looking at just women that are in positions of power. We have to look at processes, and we have to look at systems. There's a lot of people that are figureheads. There's a lot of people in corporate America. There's a lot of police chiefs that when you really dig deep, you understand they really don't have any power. They're just the figurehead because either they are the right gender and or they're the right color. And that's another reason we have to be very mindful when we're talking about diversity and inclusion. Is there power that's related to that role, or is there just perceived power so that people can have that thought process? Well, what about these particular people? Right. I personally believe, because I've worked in banks where there's a lot of us that can be that way. That's the reason you follow the appropriate protocol in order to call that not into question, but in order to implement change. Because when you implement process change and systemic change, then it doesn't become about person. It becomes about changing that process. So no matter who's in that role, they have that level of accountability to actually have meaningful change.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important. What Shanae just said is systemic change, because there are women, to speak to what he said, there are women who perpetuate sexism or all of those things that we just finished talking about. That is a thing. You would think that it wouldn't be, but it is.
Well, what about she said something about do the men is there anywhere in history, or I guess in modern history, where men were helping people, but helping the women to boost them? What about Shirley Chisholm? Weren't black men helping her? She was running for president, right?
So that's what I'm saying. My question was, throughout history, where have you seen black men support black women in a movement? And I'm going to tell you the most recent movement.
What type of movement? What type of movement?
Any movement. The most recent time that they could have supported us in the movement was actually the Me Too movement. Because the Me Too movement was actually a movement that was started by Tarana Burke 10 years before everybody else ever even jumped aboard. Even when Alyssa Milano and all the rest of them jumped aboard, they tried to basically write Tarana Burke out of the particular movement.
But
and that was a time that we
Okay, so the basis of the Me Too movement was basically to say what? To say that black women need to be in a position of power, right?
The Me Too movement was talking about how black women were subjected to sexual harassment, sexual assault, and rape.
Oh, okay. So sexual assault. All right. So which also kind of stems back to chattel slavery,
from slave days.
Right. Exactly. So we know that these people are still the same people because they still do the same thing. And like I say this on just about everyone, they still the same people. We're the ones that are trying to change our situations, right? And a lot of them still have the way that they do things is still the way that they do things. They're gonna keep their foot on us regardless.
But the issue is, and I'm gonna always say this, and I'm very clear about this, the way that they do things is the way that they do things because we take it laying down, period. Change and black women comes in time of comfort. And I'm going to give you an example. I can give you many examples. I'm going to give you an example even with my own son back in 2018 when he was snatched out of a vehicle in less than 3 minutes. And literally you can hear that we were on the phone with communications trying to understand what was going on. Do you know who it was over and over and over again that said, oh, well, he just should have did what they said? Black men, over and over. And the thought
we know we got
behind that was, well, you know how they do is literally that's the point. How they do it is not justified. It is not okay. Even now, in many
I'm definitely not saying that.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. So let me I think that what Shanae is trying to say, it's like as a whole, it's not an individual male. There have been men individually that have supported black women in causes and movements. So that's not the case. It's not saying Tory does not support black women. Willie Earl does not support black women. Pastor Rawls doesn't support black women, because we know that it's absolutely not the case. I know that. I think it's as a whole. So when like taking the movement out of it just for a minute, when you just think about just the culture of black and African American people, like there are stigmas that go along with black women that you hear innately from black men in general that'll say, like, you know, they'll say that we're nags, we're mean, you know, the same things that we hear from white America about black women. We're the angry black woman, you know, if we are, you know, feminist or alpha woman, it's a negative connotation that goes with that. And we get that from black men. I've had so many black men treat me with the same disrespect that I get from white America. Whereas black women in general, we don't treat our men like that. Like we will give them the utmost respect, but we don't seem to get that in return. Or you'll have black men who will, you know, they'll say we're nags, or we are, you know, bitches, or whatever you want to call it. Like when we nagging, but they'll get with a Puerto Rican woman or a Hispanic woman and say, oh, she just feisty. she feisty. I like my women feisty, but we don't get that same because we're outspoken. It's looked down upon by Black men when Black women are outspoken. But if another race or woman is outspoken, it's impressionable to them. So that's kind of where that negative connotation comes from. So I completely understand what Shanae is trying to say. We don't get the same support that we give out, which brings this thing kind of back full circle. What we're talking about, women end up in these leadership roles or feeling like they have to run the family or run the households because we don't have that foundation from the men within our culture or within our race. So we don't feel like we do. And we really don't. We don't have that level of support that we give out.
I wonder if we get played like puppets. I wonder if it's other people pulling the strings, and instead of us focusing on where the real issue is, that they turn us against one another. They go back to the title, kings and queens, or kings versus kings. And it seems that a lot of the mentality is it's a versus. And I hear people like somebody talk about, they might say young Black boys are thugs. Well, ain't none of my sons thugs. And so that ain't true to me. And it don't make sense to me. And so I don't even buy into that. Because that narrative is not true. You can't paint all Black men like a thug, whatever your definition of a thug is. And so that's not true to me. And so and so that they stupid for that don't mean nothing to me. And I wonder if we get played like puppets, and when we spend so much time being each other's enemy, to where we don't focus on trying to see the reality of what we want to be, not what we've been told we are. We don't even get to write the books.
But that's the reason you got to get to the root.
The books tell us that, yeah, we're enemies. You this and you that. You lazy, you a B, or whatever the books say. But we don't write the books, and we spend so much time arguing about what they wrote that we are, as opposed to really trying to come together. And because it's hard to hear sometimes, when it's hard to listen to it when I know that I'm not that, and not me, I'm not talking me, but I know my son is not that. And so they're just talking crazy. And I think it's a narrative switch that we need to, because there's been pain on both sides, trauma on both sides, and the people that the trauma has been inflicted upon has been convinced that each one of them is the purpose of that infliction. And right. So I think it's a reality of the verses, but
you got to get to the root. And so I'm gonna say it again, and Pastor Roger, you're coming back. In Alachua County, not just me, there's a lot of strong Black women, and I mean a lot of strong Black women who want to heal and build our community up, and they get the most vitriol from Black men. They get them from other people. That's with anything. The etiology, that's even too, we can look at it medically. We can try to treat a disease all day long and put a Band-Aid on it, but if we don't get to the root will still eat away at all of the progress that you're making. And so we might not need to, we need to get to the root and really talk about the trauma. We need to talk about how, like I said earlier, even with Black boys, we want to say they act this way and that way, but we program them to be that way. We can't always beat them upside the head with that. But we got to get to the root and understand that we program them that way. My son and sons are not like a lot of the stereotypes that we see. But also with my son, even being with me, what he's being fed with pertaining to young women that are his age at 22 and 23, I find myself having to dismantle that, because that's what he's being fed, that women his age are all materialistic. And I have to show him, son, those are the people in your circle. Expand your circle. You've only seen people since you graduated from high school here in Gainesville in only one part, when the world is so much bigger than that. But we still have to get to the root of that history, but also what is being programmed currently. So each side keeps saying it feels like they're the issue with that affliction of that trauma. But what do we see? We are what we eat. We see reality TV where Black women are beating and demeaning each other, where they're materialistic, where we're sexualized in music and in television. So therefore, everything about us is negative. So people don't think they don't feel the need to protect us. We're black men. What do we see in music? We talking about killing each other. We calling ourselves bitches, hoes, and niggas. We are talking about what we're gonna do to the other man and how we're gonna do this. So that's the programming. For us, then it becomes respect in your community is more important than even the respect that you should be demanding from the people in positions of power, because that's what it is. So why did you kill somebody? Because they disrespected me. But the white man disrespects you every day by oppressive systems, but we're not willing to go stand up in the paint. We're not willing to kill for that. We're not willing to go to war for that, but we're willing to go to war with each other. And part of that issue is the root, huh?
We've been redirected to go to war with each other.
Right.
That's
right. And that's the point. So even when we address, you still got to have a level, you got to hold people.
Can I say
capable.
something about that, Shanae? Yeah. I give you the perfect example of what you just said about the war. You have what's going on over there in the so-called Middle East right now. These Israelis, they have so much weaponry because they get billions of dollars from the United States and for defense. And they're fighting people who throw rocks. The people who throw rocks still fight them back, is the point. They don't care if they get redirected. We don't fight back. We don't even have that innate ability for some reason to look at the enemy square in the face. You see, these people throwing rocks against missiles. They got little rockets, and these people, the Israelis have these ICBMs, you know, because they really want their land back. It's really none of their land, because the Palestinians is just a Greek terminology for Philistines. The Philistines were Canaanites or Hamites. They really were black people. Those are just Arabs that moved into that land over the centuries. But and the Israelis, of course, we know where they came from, them Edomites. But none of the land belongs to them. If God put them in the land, it says in the scriptures that when the real Israelites get back to the land, there will be no more war. All they got is war. Anyway, the point is, we need to become one. We don't need a side and a side. There shouldn't be king versus queen. One flesh. It should just be one. Then we can activate what we can do against our enemy.
One flesh, I agree with, but one flesh can't be. So like people always say, America's a melting pot. One flesh can't be that I lose who I am in order for us to become one flesh. That's the point. When we come together, we need to love and appreciate each other for whoever it is that we are. So, and I tell you that we have a very complex situation in my family structure. And part of that family structure is the male in the family structure is Hebrew. I'm not. I'm kind of African spiritual at the same time. But I was going to say that, but I'm not offended that my kids have taken on the persona that they want to learn and know more about being Hebrew. So I'm not minimizing what his belief system is because it's different than mine. He doesn't minimize my belief system because it's different than his. We're trying to learn, study, and grow together in order to figure it all out. When we become one together, that's what we have to do. We are not monoliths by any stretch of the imagination. So we got to get to a point to understand they're going to be beta women, they're going to be alpha women, they're going to be beta males, they're going to be alpha males. We got to figure out how to come together as one and not demean or put others down because they're different, and figure out how we're going to all be whole individuals coming together for our level of strength. And we don't have that. We will die for our respect in our hoods against each other, but we won't die for the respect that we should be demanding in other places.
So Shanae, let me ask you a question. So when I hear you talk about your household, that narrative don't sound true for your household. I know Tori's household, that narrative don't sound true. I see Willie moving, that narrative don't sound true.
And we're the people already at the table.
I know it's flat out not true. And so, yeah, there may be some, but how does that get to be our story?
So the reason that it's our story is because literally the point that you made, you see everybody that you named that's not the story in our household, because that's not the story in our household. That's why we're already at this table. We're already at this table. We already do the things that we did individually because that's not our story, working to change that story. But the issue is we're outnumbered.
How do we claim that as a people though? How do we claim that narrative as a people? Because I mean, I'm not trying to act like I'm with, but I know that we have some people that's not getting it right, but we got a whole lot of people that's.
So you know how we can that narrative. If we had enough people that got it right, we would have an infrastructure. We don't. So the reason that we can claim that narrative as the people, there's two things that are missing in our story: our capital and our infrastructure. When we get to a point where that's no longer our narrative as a people, we're going to see it in our capital and in our infrastructure.
So you're saying our family structure can't even be solid or sound if we don't have capital?
No, we have sound family structures because there's a lot of poor people. So now you transition to that. An individual family structure can be sound without capital. And capital don't mean that everybody in it, like I've told you before, wealth is only as good as the community around you. So even when you are in poor communities, there's many sound family structures. But the way that they build wealth with those sound family structures who don't have means is they build it together. So my family individually might not have much of anything, but the 10 families that are in my community that we're able to stand together, we're able to build the wealth that we need to sustain. Right now, as a people, we cannot sustain on our own. We're already outnumbered, and that's problematic. So all day long, we can fight for change and do whatever until we find a way to become sustainable. They have all of the power in their control. The reason that we don't have a way to stay sustainable is because of what? Our programming, as we bash and beat down Black businesses and beat down each other. It's programming sustainability within our churches because everybody's trying to get a particular title. It's the way we beat each other down even in village building because we do things differently. And instead of looking, okay, that's their way of doing things and this is mine and bring them together, I'm not going to engage with them. That's on them. Ooh, child. And that's the issue. So it literally what you stated to be correct. Each of us are extremely and vastly different. Each of us get it in our family structures. That's why we're already here. But it's the numbers that we're outnumbered where we can't. Even back in days with civil rights days, we had people that didn't agree with it, but the numbers were enough people to come together in order to be able to push for particular change. Part of the issue though is we were sold a bill of goods and told we should be pushing for desegregation, and we shouldn't have. And literally, we thought that they were going for change because we were pushing for it, but they understood the level of power that they had with integration. They realized that we were sustainable communities before integration. They realized that we were educating our children before integration. So when they integrated us, then they started to teach us white man's history, and they started to teach us white man's way of doing things so that we would lay down, accept it, and take it. And we have to take that part back.
Yeah, I really don't.
I think
we got issues. We got issues. I think our issues are more with realizing who we are and realizing our potential, as opposed to constantly, highlighting how weak we are. As a pastor, one thing that I try to deal with, okay, these are some issues that we have to work on, but do y'all realize the potential, that's in us? But I think you keep telling people, we got one side that's already telling us you're sorry, you this, you that, you that. And I think from within, even though we're correcting our issues, I don't know if we do good by continuing to perpetuate a lie. And we're not as weak as they say we are. We just need for those like we're talking about at this table to do what we're doing and reach back and continue reaching and saying, hey, all of us can be this right here. But I think it's a lie. I think it's a lie to say we're as weak as the lie says we are.
One of the things that Tori said earlier about Ape Strong, I think that's one of the issue. I think that's one of the issues that we have to do to combat this nonsense.
Can I say it again? We have to
Ape Strong. Like we worried about our house and the people that live under our roof, and that's it. The sense of community, the sense of our block is the cleanest block on the street. Our block is the most. We don't have any violence and all that other kind of stuff on our block. All the kids that are on this block graduate from school and go to college or go to the military. Those kind of things like that. We're too focused on me, myself, and I And the ones that got my last name or got some of my blood in it, or the ones that's under my roof that got my blood in it sometimes, or whatever roof I'm sleeping under. We have to work on that. And you talked about that earlier about desegregation and no, integration, how that has affected us. It has made us abandon being self-reliant. It's made us, we can talk about it every single night. Every single city has a former Black business hub. It's called Anderson Avenue down here in Fort Myers. They turned it into Dr. King Street. That's where all the Black businesses were. The black, what was the name of it? The grocery stores, the washeries, the library, the this, the that, the ribs, the restaurants, all that stuff was there. And it's all gone. All gone. Why is it all gone?
I wanted to speak to something Shanae said.
Right.
I speak on this probably every week or every month when we talk about this, I think, and I will say it till the day I leave this earth. Integration was the beginning of degradation of Black and African American people into our community, and I think we all know that. Like, that's just the truth. There's no other way to say it more plainly. Like, we begin to degrade and lose ourselves as a community and as a race of people once we begin to integrate. I mean, we lost everything as a culture, and we began to give our culture away really to America, because America has no culture without Black people. Like, we create the culture. We created the foundation for this country. So we are the culture for this country. We are the very heartbeat of these here United States. But something Pastor Ross said about being weak, I don't think that we are as a people weak, and I don't think anybody really believes that. I think we are very strong people. We are very resilient people. You can look back through our history, modern day history, of all the things that we've overcome throughout the years, all the things that us as a people have done in this country and overcome as a people. But I think that we lack the ability to collaborate and organize. And I don't think that means that we're weak. We just we don't have the ability to organize and collaborate as a people. Too many people want to be the leaders. A lot of people want to be in positions of power. Black people have been what's the word? We've been taught that we should be the person in charge. We don't want to listen to other Black people. We have that house nigga mentality or whatever you want to call it. So some people want to be in control of things, and they don't want to listen to the people that actually have the knowledge. I say to I don't like being the smartest person in my circle. I'm always looking for other people to be around me that can teach me something where I can grow and I can learn, because to me that's how you develop as a person. So but we have that thing going on within our culture, within the race of Black people, where we just don't want to listen to anybody. So as far as being weak, I don't agree with that. I don't think we are. I just think that we don't have the ability to collaborate with each other. Everybody wants to be in charge. And I guess that goes back to the three components that Shanae talks about, the healing, the love, and then equipping that foundation. Getting to the root of whatever the issue is and why we are that way, and then repairing it. I think we are clear on why we are that way. You can go back to the Willie Lynch syndrome and everything that we endured as a people and as a race. So we already know why we're like that. Now we need to start talking about the reparations of that and how we repair that as a person, as a people, and as a culture, and start developing ourselves as a culture and taking back some of the power that we already do have, just to kind of re-engage in that, because we already have that. And then the last point I wanted to make, Shanae, that was Betty Wright, you quoted earlier. Having a piece of man is better than having no man at all.
So how do you take back the power if you're a community and you allow yourselves to be split? How do you take back power with half your strength?
I don't think we should allow ourselves to be.
We spent a whole conversation on proving, it is kings versus queens. It ain't really kings and queens. It's king versus king, versus queen. How do you do this when you allow yourself to be split?
I think that's the point of the conversation, is that we realize that it is kings versus queens, and it should not be. I don't think that that's the way it should be. Unfortunately, that's the system that we have evolved into, or come into, or that's been imposed upon us. That's what you said, Tori. What did you say?
I was just saying we were forced into
it. So it's been imposed upon us, but I don't think that's the way it should be. Obviously, we should be working as a team, and that doesn't even have anything to do with gender bias. That's just Black people as a whole. We should be working together. I don't think we should be basing it off of women versus men. It should just be Black people, Black and Indigenous people of color should be working together, joining together to try to better ourselves as a people. We are in this country that we built for free on our backs, that our ancestors lost their lives for, brought here, many of them brought here, that were not indigenous to this land, because many of us were already here, but the ones that were brought here against their will, built this country, and we sitting up here talking about men versus women. They didn't have no gender bias when they was throwing them on the ships. There was no, we're gonna put the women over here and the men over there, whatever the case might be. They was just, taking Black and brown people from off their continent and bringing them to, this new land, so to speak. So we need to get away from the gender part of it and talk about us as a whole, Black people just rebuilding whatever it is that we lost.
I think it's a good segue, your question, Pastor Ross, into the giveaway that I can say that I can do, because y'all know I love my acronym, which is literally WAR. So the way that we get away from that is the way that I've been effective to do it. You still gotta call a spade, but then you have to take it a step further, because you hold people capable. And so what that means is, as we talk about the things that are going on in our community, we talk about them, we understand that these are issues, and then we look together at building ways in order to be able to change those things. You can't run and hide from what it is. Also, if it's looked at as a strength, as a weakness, how you turn weaknesses into strengths. You find and look at why they're a weakness, and you fix that particular part of it. So that's what you do. So we feel that the weakness is gender bias. We feel that the weakness is toxic masculinity. If we feel that the weakness is that women are too independent, we got to come and understand and read and learn and study. Because the one thing that I realized is there's a lot of people that have a knee-jerk reaction when you're introducing different concepts. Many of the things that you named about how we came here, most people don't even know. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I just found out last week that I'm Blackity Black. I am like 76% West African, and then I'm 16% East African. Y'all thought I was cocky and Black before. Y'all should see me coming up. And so, but that's the point. There's a sense of pride. I knew I came from Africa, but to know it on that particular level, there's so many people who don't know that particular part of it. There's so many people that don't know that every component of this country is ours. Many people even too are drawn to me because I'm able to tell them that this is our stuff. This is what it is. And so there's that level of belonging. There's that level of cockiness. That's what you do. Wisdom. I'm gonna say it again, architecture and revolution. What I said before, wisdom is the education and the study. We have to stop assuming that people know what we know, because they don't. And we got to stop assuming that people think we know everything because we're well versed in certain things. Architecture is not just buildings, although buildings are important. The architecture, building that in our community. We want togetherness. We feel like we don't have it. We have to build that. And sometimes what that means is taking your ego out of the way. So when somebody getting on your nerves, or even though you feel like you're right, you're saying, wait a minute, hold on. We're not arguing right here. We're communicating. We're trying to learn right here. Being that person who's going to take ownership of that and say, okay, I can let you beat me up for a minute so we can get past that hurt and that trauma to get to the next level. And even with revolution, I do agree. I want to tear all this shit down, but I understand that you can't tear anything down without having something suitable to put in its place, because it'll put us back to square one. And that's what it is. I don't think we should run from it, but we should, if we understand that's what it is,
tear it down.
We take it and we run with it, and now we come up with solutions instead of waiting on them to give us solutions.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you beat me down, but I ain't gonna let you lie on me, not you personally. And so I think that what we have to do when we speak, we have to speak truth. And when you just overall say black men, you lied on me because I'm a black man. And then I think you got to be, you got to watch the words that you use, because Hey, if you're telling the truth and you beat me down, that's fine. But you ain't gonna lie on me. And
You know why I'm gonna disagree with that?
And
Because white people take that same mindset.
If you saying black men generally, and I'm a black man, and that ain't me, I'm a speaker. Just like when people say all pastors, yeah, a lot of them might be that way. But when you say all pastors, I ain't accepting that right there because I know I ain't that way.
So I'm gonna interject, but I do it white people because you know my favorite saying is white people, and you know that's I feel like many white people have the sense of entitlement to be stupid. My terminology, white people, only applies to white people that are white people. If it doesn't fit, then we don't have to take offense. And the reason that I have to keep that same energy with that, because that's literally the same argument that many white people give us. They give us that argument. Agree. Well, I don't apply. Well, that's not me. So what I'm doing,
then I said you have to tell them if it don't apply, you let it fly.
You let it fly.
That's what we used to say. I don't think it has anything to do with individual people because you know
it doesn't.
I mean, it's a
lot of white people who ain't white people.
I can sit on here and paint a brush about how we used to look at when I was younger and how we used to look at women. I can paint that brush, but y'all ain't gonna sit here and let me say what I used to say.
When you painted that brush, so hold on. When you painted that brush, what did you do in order to change that thought process for other people? That's the puzzle piece. I agree with that because we evolved.
I'm telling you, when you're in a conversation and you trying to work something out, I mean, yeah, we can keep having a conversation, but I'm still gonna speak and let you know that ain't the whole story. And so to paint black people like that, we lying. That ain't the narrative of all black people. All black people are not that. Just like somebody say all young black boys are hoodlums and this and that. No, that's a lie.
But we know that. But even outside of that, so that goes to the next step.
I'm not gonna say
even when all. Hold on.
I think the key word is all. So if somebody say all black, if all black boys are this, we know that ain't true because we ain't saying all. So you can say we can say black men don't support black women, but I ain't say all black men don't support black women. It changes the narrative, Pastor. It changes. It changes the articulation of it. So if I say black men don't support, if black men don't support black women, I didn't say all black men don't support black women.
Let me get some Gatorade.
And that's the puzzle piece.
And
the
then
puzzle piece is even if the generalization makes you feel uncomfortable, because even too, like for me, I get generalized when it pertains to a lot of stuff. I don't run from it and hide from it. I'm gonna say yes, it's so, or I'm gonna say I disagree, but I understand what you're coming from. So how do we change that narrative? The next step is action. Don't run from it and say, "Oh no, you're telling a lie on me."
I think it's important
change that narrative because why do so many people feel that way?
I think it's important to understand right here too.
If you want to have that conversation and bring it together, there's going to be some I disagree, but let's keep talking. Just like you say, I disagree.
Yes, and I think it's important to understand.
Float out there that all black men like this right here. But
you say all. You keep saying all, Pastor. You keep saying all.
Nobody said what you said.
Nobody said all.
Nobody said all. And then I think it's fair to point out here too that I'm not talking about anybody else's experience. I'm talking about my own and the things that I went through with certain black men, things that I've experienced. I don't know, and things that I see. And I think social media, the gift and the curse that we were given here about 10 years back with social media has really shown a light on the capacity of how black men don't support black women. Because you can even, you could go to these comments where a lot of it could be bots, but a lot of it is real live accounts of black men degrading black women, putting other races of women on pedestals who do the same things that black women do, but saying that we're not enough.
And it's black women. So let's interject being a black woman. It's the black women that get on my nerves. This whole debate about the size of rings, and if he don't drive this, and if he don't have this job, and if he don't do that. So let's be clear. So even as I think you all have taken ownership of that, there is work to do on both sides. If you're engaged in a relationship by materialistic things about what other people are going to think that's acceptable, you already have failed. So let's be clear on that as well. And even too, because I'm often, speaking with my son regarding negative connotations of black men and black women as well. But the one challenge is, I'm always asking him, when we see that, let's understand the why, because the why is the root. And then what are we going to do proactively in order for there to be solutions to change what people are being fed? See, that's what happens. We have a knee-jerk reaction because we don't like it, we disagree, and then people disengage. And so what that does is, the same way you may feel like you're being minimized, but it's minimizing. Just because somebody else's opinion or their view or experiences are different doesn't mean that they're wrong. It does, because that's your view. It's not about a right or wrong. And when we get out of that and realize that that's not what it's about, and that we're looking at how did these stereotypes and things like that transpire, and then how do we move forward as a people in order to circumvent that, that's when we're going to be further along. Because I can tell you, I deal and help a lot of people, and it's screwed up on both. There's a lot of screwy stuff on both sides.
Right. I was going to use that quote, Willie Earl, that brother.
If the glove don't fit, you must quit. But I still ain't gonna say she let you lie on me. Because it's some others out there. When you stand paint this narrative, they tell you what to think and what to say, and you you paint this narrative. Some folk that's listening, saying, "Well, dog, I guess we all know, man. Everybody ain't."
I'm going on record and saying that I clarified for the record that I don't believe that Pastor Ross, Tory, or
no, you ain't gotta call my name. I'm standing up for.
I called it earlier. I called the name earlier. I said it earlier on in the conversation.
Let me do a thing real quick. Type your name in real quick. Everybody that's commented or I seen your name, I done put your name on this wheel. But if you want to be for this drawing, I think Sinead's giving like $200. If you want to be in for this drawing,
the lie you tell.
You see how she spoke over that lie? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. And so if you want to get this prize, type your name in there real quick so I can put you on this wheel.
Pastor Ross, why they doing that? I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
For the men because you can't say, well, they line, it does not apply to all. So what do you say for men and women that it does apply to?
They need to be listening. And I need to be, long as you use the right terminology, because I don't think there's nobody that can say that I don't support what y'all saying. I'm just saying your terminology is puppet string, and they done wrote the narrative and told you how to paint us, and then we bought into it and we paint.
What was our terminology?
Huh?
What was our terminology?
The one I'm pointing at. What you said, Jamie?
She was trying to say something.
I've been talking the whole time on mute.
Wait, Pastor Ross was pointing at me because all I said, I didn't say the word all. I never said all. Go ahead, Sheila.
Okay. Black men and when you said black men don't support black women, he wants you to say some black men don't support black women.
I'm not gonna say that though, because that ain't true.
But see,
no, I'm a generalize. Let's leave it like it is. Black men don't support black women. All right.
It is true.
Right, so that's what I was about to say when Pastor
Ross, is a culture that many black women don't support black women. You just gonna be real about it.
Right, and when
y'all got lied to, because it's a whole bunch of folk that apparently
we ain't got lied to. We talking about
lied to. You got lied
to.
It's a whole bunch of folk that might not be in your circle, a whole bunch of folk that you might not be seeing on a daily basis that ain't doing what you're talking about, and so you perpetrating the lie.
Go ahead, Shira. What was you gonna say?
Shira was trying to get her point out there.
Go ahead. My bad.
I was just gonna say that, like, how that generalization turned you off, and it turns like the same way feminist thought turns people off to the point where they want to completely disengage or won't even hear what we are saying. Like Shanae said earlier, historically, can you name a movement that for black women that was supported by black men in the same way that we have supported black men in movements? And I mean, it might be somewhere small, but we haven't heard anything nationally, or we haven't heard anything.
I've looked for
it. Where there was a movement and black men didn't support.
And there's never been a time where black men have even developed or created or mobilized a movement.
So y'all were saying black men didn't
black
support
women.
Y'all saying black men didn't support me too.
For black women, like
black men.
There's never been a time where black men have mobilized to create or initiate a movement in support of black women.
Well, I'm a yellow man then. I'm a yellow man.
No,
Pastor Ross, y'all talking about?
You got hold on. You a pastor now. Come on, Pastor.
All right, let's do this.
You cannot utilize you and Willie Earl as the exception to be the norm, and we're just being real. So hold on. For example, Black Lives Matter was mobilized by black women
to support black men.
The Black Panther Party there was a mobilization. So not that you and 10 men might have showed up, or even 100 out of 10,000. That's not what we're stating. And we don't want to discredit for the people that do show up. but there's not a mobilization. I can name, because you know me, I'm always kicking somebody's door in. I can talk about Alachua County, Florida, Marion County, and many other places, literally where our Black men should be at the forefront. And I don't mean that war with a gun. I just mean standing up alongside of our Black women, and it don't happen. Literally, you now reside, you always reside. You are in a county where some of the strongest Black women to walk this earth reside and are making bold changes and movements. And I want you to pay attention. Go to meetings and see who was at those particular meetings. I don't mean they got to go to Washington. I mean, even on a local scale. I lived in Atlanta, and I'm here to tell you, even then when I showed up, there was a group of people, but not the level of mobilization and that same level of energy that we give. We're not discrediting the work that's done. I know the work that Willie Earl has done. I know the things that Tori does in his community, and Lord knows we all know about you. So please don't think that we're discrediting that work. But what I'm telling you is, with so many things that are going on, with so many things that impact that women, all from childbirth on, there should be a greater mobilization of our men in order to help with that particular change.
Okay. So you said it. There should be a greater greater, meaning there's something going on. There was a war. There was a fight in the Bible. There's 32,000.
I don't subscribe to incrementalism. I got to keep that same energy. White people try to sell me that. Well, we did something. That don't work for me. So I'm gonna be honest with you.
There's opportunity. There's opportunity right now. There's opportunity, like with the discrepancies in the medical industry right now, in the healthcare industry with Black women, where we are dying in childbirth at rates greater than any other rate of anybody on this planet. I think it's like 7 times more likely for us to die during childbirth, Black women. And there's an opportunity for Black men right now to mobilize. We bearing y'all children, because Black women are I think 3 times less likely to marry outside of their race. So we bearing Black men's children, and y'all could be mobilizing right now and creating an initiative to say, hey, why are our women, why are our wives, our girlfriend, the children of the mother of our kids dying in these hospitals? But even take childbirth out of it.
You 100% sure it ain't none.
No, there is not an initiative right now. The only initiative that's going on right now has been mobilized by Black women. We saying, hey, why are we dying? I mean, and then aside from
do the Black men actually know about this? Because this is my first time hearing it.
Well, I'm telling you now.
But they don't want to talk about it because they want to hear about, you know what I'm saying?
I'm letting you know right now. And then aside from childbirth in the healthcare industry, we're more likely to die just in general, or not to listen to in the healthcare industry. I mean, I've been through multiple things just as a Black woman going to the doctor. I'm telling my physician certain things that I have going on with me, and they don't listen to us. They literally think do you remember the study, Shanae, you ever heard about? Where they said Black women are able to take pain more than anybody. We can they have the ability to
they experimented.
There was a whole experiment about
Black women. They experimented on Black women early on.
And that's still a thing today. That's still a thing today. That's still happening today.
It's a two-edged sword. Number one, they think our skin was thicker, so we have a higher pain tolerance level, but then they say we're more likely to be addicted to these opioids and become whatever. So that's why they don't require.
Which has never been proven. I want to point out, it has never been proven that we have a higher likelihood of being addicted to opioids. That never ever was proven.
That's not a scientific fact.
But it's still being taught.
But there are so many. I brought that up to say, and I think that's a conversation that we really could bring to the table too, but that's a conversation probably for another day. But I brought it up to say that there is opportunity for Black men to mobilize and fight for us and stand up and be on the front lines and say, hey, this is something that we want to fight for Black women. So y'all have
we can fight for wages. They can fight for our wages.
Hey, that's you in the middle, cuz.
Coming from every angle, man. Let's go
by yourself. Ain't no other brothers in that picture.
Let's go win
I'm
this
making
money.
y'all aware of it now. So y'all go ahead and mobilize and get this thing on a national level and save some Black people.
Okay.
I don't know how to make this so y'all can see.
We need to be more informed, Jamie, because I have never heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've known about
that. Real thing.
a better job of being informed of the unique oppressions of Black women. They do.
What's the W?
Wisdom.
Okay.
Wisdom, architecture, revolution.
That's what we about. That's what they about to win.
Yep.
All right.
Two of them.
All
I'm
right.
about to put my name in there.
Y'all about to win that shirt right there. Let me go to it. Let's get it
why
going.
you ain't put my name on there?
Oh, my bad. Let me do it again.
And I need their address and shirt size when they send it to you.
All right.
How much you selling them for?
I ain't decided yet. I just had somebody to actually design it for me.
I told you that in week 2, in week 3 when you said it. I said you need that on a shirt.
I told you I was gonna get it. I did.
Yes. While we waiting on Pastor Ross to do the wheel, please, I sent y'all a message. I need y'all to drop your links for your merchandise and books in our group chat because I need to make my purchases, please.
All right. How many, Shanae?
2.
All right. Here's the first one that's gonna win the shirt. War, Wisdom, Architecture, and R.
Revolution.
Revolution.
Well, I already won. She better not win again.
Brandon don't count. I'll get her one. That's a friend of mine. So 2 more shirts.
That Brandon be great.
Some of that'll be great. So I'm gonna get her one too, but 2 more.
Carl Walker from Miami, Florida. That's my father. That's my father-in-law.
Congratulations, Carl.
All right, come on. What you got? What you got?
Dolores Hall from Bunnell, Florida.
All right.
Congratulations, Dolores.
All right.
Is Dolores, hold on. Is Dolores the person with the post office box? Because tell her if she is, I'm not sending it there. They charged me $18 last time.
Oh, what happened? She won some last time?
I think so. That might be the person. So tell her she's gonna have to give me an address.
Send it to my cousin's house.
All right.
Okay.
So everybody that just won, go ahead and even if the video over, go to my page and inbox me, message me your name, address, and size. And then we'll get it sent to you, but don't use a P.O. box. So ask your neighbor if you can have it delivered. All right, so y'all, I think it was a good discussion. I just want to thank all y'all Black people for letting a yellow person be on here with y'all. And I really enjoyed myself. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good conversation. I'm really happy Anthony wasn't on here because he really would have. I was trying to beat Anthony, but I can't really beat Anthony. So,
I was hoping for him tonight.
Yeah, I was trying to beat him. Anybody got anything you want to say before we close out? Everybody, you get on 30 seconds.
All right, let me jump in and get my 30 real quick. Start the timer. Y'all, my Black people, my beautiful Black people, we in the state of Florida have got to get it together between this voting bull crap that DeSantis just signed, along with the anti-protesting bills thing that they just signed to. Val Demings just declared she's going to run for Senate against Rubio. I guess Chris said he's going to go against DeSantis. We need to all hands on deck to register people to vote, to do what we need to do. We can't wait. We got to get started now because they're trying to bring back the old Southern Confederacy, Florida, and it's happening on our watch. So we need to get active like yesterday.
Agree.
Okay, I'll go. I just want to say I do love my people, and in the faith that I'm in, we just simply want our people to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. There would be no kings versus queens if that was the case. Our people would stop killing each other. Our people would stop robbing each other. Our people would actually learn to love each other if they did that. Just come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, and then our enemies would not be able to touch us because the Most High would be with us more than he is ever. We are in the last days. If you can't tell, all you gotta do is turn on the news. So I'll say call halal Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakah Kadash, and I'll see y'all the next time. The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
All right. I had a good one. I'm looking forward to the next one. And thank you all for continuing to show up and share it. We just have conversations that we encourage you to have in your spaces and your areas in your community.
Hey, y'all. Good night.
Good night.
Shalom.
That's everybody. We got Shira and Shania.
Well, I was just gonna encourage you all
Oh.
to continue learning, continue growing and working, and stay encouraged. Thank you.
I didn't have anything. I'm good. Y'all have a good night.
I just want to say we need to open our hearts, we need to open our minds. And the biggest thing is we need to heal, love, and equip each other. So that's how we're going to get out of the competition and get to a point where we need to be.
Anthony just posted something in the chat too, Jamie.
In the chat?
In the Facebook chat.
Yeah. Yeah, so y'all have a good one. Y'all come back now, you hear?